Haripriye Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I would like to thank the temple management and Her Grace Vaijayanti Sakhi Mataji for giving me this opportunity to glorify Srila Prabhupada. We'll be starting off with part 2 of chapter 38, No One Listens to a Poor Man. So the last class we stopped at when Prabhupada was being invited to Jaipur. So what happened in Jaipur, we'll start from there, like what happened right before. So when any ISKCON center or temple needed deities, Prabhupada would send them to Jaipur to get the marble sculptures for the deities, of the deities. So this time he had sent from New York temple two Matajis. Their names were Srimati and Kaushalya Mataji. So what happened was, this was during 1972, January, where both India and Pakistan were at war. So then the government officials discovered that Srimati Mataji had not brought her passport. They were told to wait to keep them in Jaipur until the passport came in the mail. So what did they do till that time? Every morning they used to go to the Govindaji temple, and sometimes they would perform kirtanas, and sometimes they would hold talks with P.V. Goswami, who was the temple in charge at that time. Then they also talked with a lot of businessmen and other influential people in Jaipur. So the Jaipur devotees seeing this, the locals seeing this, they were inspired, and then they decided to, they asked them, what can we do to help your movement? So the Matajis replied, bring Srila Prabhupada here. And this sentence made Srila Prabhupada come from Bombay, where he was busy with the Juhu land, to Jaipur for a few days. So the prominent citizens of Jaipur, they decided to get the pandal ready. It's a pandal program. They decided to get it ready, and they sent a letter to invite Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada, he took some of his devotees in the Delhi center as well, and they went to Jaipur. When he arrived in Jaipur, he stayed in the Govindaji temple. He took a room and he stayed there, while his devotees stayed in a house nearby. So one of the pastimes that happened was, the Matajis that were cooking for Srila Prabhupada, they were being harassed by monkeys, big black charcoal-faced monkeys. They had the audacity to come and steal vegetables from the kitchen, and even from the fire, straight from the fire, they'll take chapatis and run away. So the devotees, they complained to Prabhupada, and he told something interesting. He told, you should neither be their enemies nor their friends. If you be their enemies, they will become vindictive and they'll become even more of a nuisance. And if you be their friends, they will keep continuing to take from you. But still this monkey problem persisted. And so then Prabhupada proposed a rather radical solution. He said that you should buy a bow and arrow, shoot one monkey down and tie him upside down on the tree. So the thing was, shooting monkeys was illegal in Jaipur. Prabhupada knew this, and even the devotees knew this. But what he meant indirectly was, we should not let tiny distractions, like in the form of monkeys or anything, distract us from our service to Krishna. And we should learn to be tolerant of such, useless stuff. And so when Prabhupada finally met the Matajis again in Jaipur, he praised them and showed his appreciation that without any facilities, without, even their husbands are not there, they still managed to find a way and preach to the people of Jaipur. But then when Prabhupada saw the arrangements that had happened for the Pandal program, he realized that the Matajis were actually not very thorough. They made two very important mistakes. One was that the flyers that they had printed out had it was written AC Bhaktivedanta Swami and his foreign disciples. It was not standard. Prabhupada became very angry with this. It should say American and European, not foreign, because that is what is attractive to the people. And it didn't mention ISKCON, where it just simply said AC Bhaktivedanta Swami. So he became very angry and he chastised them. And another problem was, it was 2 days left for the Pandal to happen, but still the Pandal tent had not been set up. So with the help of Shyamsundar Prabhu, the Matajis again, they reprinted the flyers, and in the last possible moment they fixed up the Pandal. But then later Prabhupada called them and told them, I am not actually angry with you. I chastise you because it is my duty. Disciple is related to discipline. So it is my duty to my disciples. Otherwise, I am not upset with anyone. I simply do this to discipline you. He consoled them and said that they simply lacked the expertise, but they still had the mood of devotees. And so the Pandal program was set, and they even did the installation ceremony and then sent the deities to New York City. Another interesting thing was, Tamal Krishna Prabhu, at that time, he was Tamal Krishna Prabhu, he wanted to take sannyasa. So when he asked Prabhupada about it, Prabhupada replied that he only married 1 year back, and that too he had not, he was coming with Prabhupada, he and his wife were coming with Prabhupada, and they didn't really have any private time as husband and wife. And not only that, since Tamal Krishna Prabhu was the GBC Secretary of India, he also needed help with, Prabhupada also needed the help with the Juhu land and many other managerial affairs. So he couldn't really afford to lose Tamal Krishna Prabhu as a secretary. But another thing was, Tamal Krishna Prabhu's wife was Madri Devidasi Mataji, and she, being technically Prabhupada's spiritual daughter, he also felt that he was responsible for her. But still, Tamal Krishna Prabhu was insistent. Even in Bombay, to prove his determination and commitment, every morning he used to come to Srila Prabhupada's room and would just sit there silently after performing Mangalarti, and this continued for a few days. Prabhupada understood the mind of his disciple. So, but then he realized he should take his commitment seriously and test his determination. And when they went to Jaipur, when they held GBC meetings, always Tamal Krishna Prabhu used to sit outside. And Prabhupada praised him, while the other disciples thought that he was praising him for being humble. But sooner, Prabhupada accidentally called Tamal Krishna Prabhu as Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So then, here the devotees were shocked, and especially the Matajis, because they felt that Tamal Krishna Prabhu, without consulting, his wife, because to take sannyasa, you need your permission from wife also. And they felt like he was being duplicitous. So the men devotees were in support of Tamal Krishna Prabhu taking sannyasa, while the women devotees felt like he was cheating, technically. So this continued, and during a letter when Srila Prabhupada, which he sent to Brahmananda Swami for help for the Juhu land, he mentioned that he might give Tamal Krishna Prabhu sannyasa. When Tamal Krishna Prabhu heard this, he already started preparing his tridanda and, dyeing all the clothes. But seeing this, Prabhupada called up all of his senior sannyasis, his sannyasi disciples, and he asked all of them whether he should give sannyasa to Tamal Krishna Prabhu. They all agreed. So then the next day itself, this ceremony happened, the fire sacrifice occurred, and he was given sannyasa. And because he gave up such a good wife and position in the GBC, he also earned the title Goswami. When Prabhupada asked what he would do now, Tamal Krishna Maharaj replied that he would wander around India traveling and preaching, because that was the duty of a sannyasi, without any car, the same way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. Prabhupada agreed at first, but then less than an hour later he called him back and said, this is not a good plan. You should be having assistants so that you can, assistants and assignments. So then, because he now lost his GBC secretary for India, for the Juhu land he needed help. So he decided to take the help of another veteran disciple, Brahmananda Swami. But currently Brahmananda Swami was in Nairobi, Africa. So Prabhupada had to take a flight and bring him back. But when he arrived at Nairobi, he saw that the temple standards in Nairobi were extremely bad. They didn't the disciples, some of the African disciples, the boys, they simply stole from, when he came, they stole his clothes, and later in a class, the boys were seen wearing his clothes. So, and not only that, the cooking there was extremely bad. Prabhupada even compared the cooking to pig food and horse food. It was that bad. So in the end, Prabhupada himself had to go and cook a whole Vaishnava feast. And then, because there was a 10-day festival happening, some of the devotees were very busy. So one devotee, he accidentally left the Radha Krishna Murtis on the altar, with Krishna sitting 2 steps down on one side of the altar and Radharani on the other side, just 10 miles apart. So Prabhupada, seeing this, he became very angry. And then he severely chastised him and said, what is this? Why are the deities 10 miles apart? They should be within 3 inches of each other. Are you going to let Krishna and Radharani next time sitting outside? And so like this, he stayed in Nairobi for a few days and fixed most of the problems. And he named the temple Kirata Shuddhi, which means purifying the aborigines. So later he took Brahmananda Swami back to Bombay, and he described his vision for Bombay. He told that this was his #1 project. And if the GBC managed everything nicely, and multiple people from all around the world, they didn't keep asking Prabhupada questions through letters and other stuff, he could focus on his books, which is what he really wanted to do. That was his real mission. He wanted to give, Bhagavatam, Puranas, Upanishads, Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all this he wanted to give. But then it was not possible. Anytime he felt that one of his disciples was being cheated, he would rush to their rescue. Srila Prabhupada also wanted to make one international hotel in the Juhu land. He wanted it like a holiday inn. It should have like a 5-star restaurants, and the chefs, they should be expert Brahmana cooks, and they should every day offer 56 items to the lordships. That was his vision for the Juhu land. So later, this is now a flashback. So in the 1971, at the end, when Prabhupada was about to take his disciples to Vrindavana for the very first time, 3 disciples made a plan to preach in Madras. And they came to Prabhupada, and he told them that, and he asked, "Oh, you do not want to come to Vrindavan?" And then Achyutananda Swami, one of the 3 disciples, he said that ISKCON is Vrindavan. And Prabhupada agreed and said his Guru Maharaj also used to think the same thing. And so Prabhupada said, it would be most pleasing to me if they set up a pandal in Madras. So on February 11th, 1972, Prabhupada, accompanied by approximately 20 disciples, arrived in Madras and took part in one parade that happened. So Prabhupada first stayed in the home of Mr. Balu, who was a wealthy businessman. And for 3 nights, the hall was packed with 5,000 people, and Prabhupada was giving lectures. But the problem was, most of the people in Madras were impersonalists. They wanted to, meditate in impersonal Brahman, and they considered him supreme, and that all Hindu gods were manifestations of this one Brahman. And Prabhupada simply ended his talk by imploring his audience to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just repeat, he said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His appeal was so urgent that some members of the audience actually repeated aloud. Then the editor of the Hindu, he was also present there, and he gave a very detailed summary and published it in his newspaper. He also was approached by multitudes of reporters. And usually a newspaper reporter has a stereotypical idea of who he is. And when you're giving an interview, you have a stereotyped idea of what you are. Prabhupada answered the reporters as if they were spirit souls and individual persons who are meant to as devotees for Lord Krishna. He addressed them, "This reporting you have done is very nice. Krishna will bless you. Please help spread this movement." They were simply asking questions, thinking of his answers in terms of something to publish. But Prabhupada took it in the spirit that they were spirit souls reaching out for Krishna consciousness. And he answered in that way. So Prabhupada's host, Mr. Balu, him and Prabhupada were engaged in a lot of talks, respectfully and warmly. But then one day, Mr. Balu asked Prabhupada to recite the Rasa Leela. Then Prabhupada said that Rasa Leela was the most confidential and was only meant for liberated souls. But still, Mr. Balu kept pushing and pushing Prabhupada for the Rasa Leela. But then in the end, Prabhupada said, I am not you may be qualified to hear, but I am not. I don't think I am qualified to speak about Ras Leela. Then he also was. He went to the home of the Chief Justice Veeraswamy, and he asked. And Veeraswamy, he was a sympathizer of Prabhupada's movement, and he also wanted to become a devotee. So he presented Srila Prabhupada with a 6-inch silver Krishna Murti. So one evening, when Mr. Veeraswamy came to see Prabhupada, Prabhupada mentioned that he thought Saraswati, who was the daughter of Shyamasundar Prabhu, that the deity was given, the Murti was given to Saraswati. And Prabhupada thought that this Murti was a little bit too much for a, it's a silver Murti, so he thought it's a little bit too much for a little girl. So he took the silver Murti. But then Saraswati burst into the room and ran to her mother crying, "Krishna is gone!" Srila Prabhupada then called her and asked, "Saraswati, where is Krishna?" In anxiety, Saraswati replied, "I don't know, someone took him." Prabhupada repeated, "But where is Krishna?" "I don't know." "Is he under the cushion?" And Saraswati ran to the cushion. She picked it up. Krishna was not there. "Is he on the shelf?" Saraswati ran to the shelf, her eyes darting in all directions, searching for Krishna. "Where is Krishna?" She was appealing to all the devotees, pleadingly. And then Prabhupada was intently watching Saraswati. And then he began reciting a verse about the 6 Goswamis. "He Radhe Vraja Devike Chalalite, He Nanda Suno Kuta." This is the mood of the Goswamis. They never said, "Now I have seen God, now I am satisfied." No, rather they were saying, "Where is Radha? Where is Krishna? Where are you all now? Are you on Govardhana? Or are you under the trees on the bank of the Yamuna? Where are you?" In this way, they expressed their moods of Krishna consciousness. Saraswati was, her anxiety heightened to the point of tears. One of the devotees then hinted, "Saraswati, where is Krishna? Who has Krishna?" Saraswati's eyes widened. She said, "Prabhupada has Krishna." And she rushed to Prabhupada, convinced that he was holding Krishna. And then Prabhupada reached behind his seat and pulled out a small Krishna Murti, similar to the silver Krishna he had received. He had taken from her. "Here is Krishna, Saraswati." Saraswati was in ecstasy. All the devotees were struck by Prabhupada's exchange of devotional feelings with even a small child. By his expertise, he had created within her a mood of separation from Krishna. Prabhupada continued explaining to the Chief Justice about the mood of separation from Krishna. Then there was also the ex-Chief Justice who asked a very important question. His name was Gopal Acharya. He asked a very important question. "Prabhupada, you have made such a wonderful and big movement. But what if in the future your disciples, they identify with the ISKCON movement instead of Krishna?" But then Prabhupada's answer left him satisfied. He said, "Krishna is absolute. And anything related to Krishna is also part of Krishna. So even if they identify with ISKCON, it's perfectly fine because it's still for Krishna." So soon after, he went to Vishakhapatnam, and he used to take long walks on the beach. And during one of these walks, one of his devotees asked him, "Prabhupada, when you take me to all of these wonderful, beautiful places, I keep thinking about the scenery. I forget Krishna. How should I understand this? Isn't this distracting?" To which Prabhupada replied, "The light of the sun is Krishna. The taste of the water is Krishna. Krishna is everywhere. You must only remember him and see him in everything." And so one of his newer disciples asked him, "Prabhupada, what about swimming? when I swim, I keep forgetting Krishna. Prabhupada said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to swim. He used to play ball. You can also do such things, but you just have to remember Krishna. There was another pastime when they're in the railway station of Vishakhapatnam. They were performing kirtan, and everybody was tired. They were also thirsty and dehydrated. So then Shyamasundara Prabhu, he climbed a coconut tree, and he took one coconut, cut it open, gave it to Prabhupada to drink. Prabhupada drank it and gave it back to Shyamasundara and told him to distribute to everyone else. So everybody was so thirsty that they didn't think about leaving some for the next person. So like that, everybody drank to their heart's content and passed it. And so the wonderful thing was, the coconut would not go empty. No matter how much anybody drank, the coconut was still full. Constantly they were getting the juice, and they could drink to their heart's content. And the devotees were so amazed. How is this possible? And Prabhupada simply smiled. When they arrived inside the train, Prabhupada decided to take rest at 10:30. But then at midnight, he called Shyamasundara, his secretary, and he told him to begin dictation. And then the following sentences he said were so lucid and so coherent that Shyamasundara Prabhu realized Prabhupada never actually slept. He was never actually just sleeping. He was simply meditating on how can I serve Krishna? How can I serve Krishna? How can I serve Krishna? Constantly. And this should be our mode as well. We should also be thinking, how can I serve Krishna to the best of my capabilities? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Whoever decided to give him the Gopal class is actually wrong. They should not have given him the Gopal class. He deserves to be giving the Srimad Bhagavatam class after the Gopal class. I told it in just as a joke. Please don't mistake it. Prabhu, you are excellent. So these are the future pillars of ISKCON who are going to give enlightenment to the whole world, actually. Congratulations. Keep up this spirit. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. There is a wonderful book and also a gift. It is written, Dear Kapila, if you think of Krishna 24 hours, Krishna will think of you 26 hours. Krishna is so kind. If you do some service for Krishna, Krishna will reward you 100 times. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And there is also a wonderful book written by Srila Prabhupada, Krishna Consciousness, the topmost yoga system. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Please accept this wonderful gifts on behalf of ISKCON Bahrain. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Take Diksha very fast and become a regular preacher instead of Gopal class.